feelings versus feelings mixed with thoughts. So we talked about feelings before, and feelings might be somatic sensations, like I feel hot, cold, I feel tingly, I feel tension, like those are somatic feelings. And oftentimes when we're talking about feelings in the context of nonviolent communication or compassionate communication, we're talking about the emotions. I feel happy, sad, embarrassed, confused, surprised, delighted, right? So emotions. Now, emotions, sometimes there are words that we use to express emotions that are not purely emotions. They're actually emotions that are mixed with thoughts. So this is where this differentiation of feelings versus feelings mixed with thoughts becomes important. Let's think, what could be a word we use that's a feeling mixed with a thought? Right? I feel happy, pretty clear, I'm feeling happy. I feel sad, pretty clear, feeling sad. I feel rejected. I feel rejected. Now, feeling rejected, there are certainly emotions connecting with the feeling of rejection. However, note, if you say, I feel rejected, that would come along inherently with the thought that somebody has rejected me. Somebody has rejected me. So it's not just a pure feeling. There's now a thought that somebody has done something to me. This thought, anytime you have somebody has done something to me and I feel hurt, it paints you as a victim and the other person as a perpetrator. So I feel rejected. Somebody has rejected me. They perpetrated me by rejecting me. I'm the victim to their rejection. Let's find another word. Ignored. Somebody ignored me. Right? I'm the victim of being ignored. Somebody perpetrated me by ignoring me. And usually we don't use the words victim and perpetrator quite that strongly with a word like ignored. But you can probably see that it's there. This is implying somebody has done something to me. It's impacted me. I don't feel good. My needs weren't met. They did it to me. So that's why it's really important to look at these words where there's an implication of right and wrong and victim perpetrator woven into these words that we use to express emotion. Yes, there's emotion there. When you feel rejected, when you feel ignored, when you feel belittled, unseen, unheard, disrespected. All of these are words that imply that somebody has wronged you and that your emotions, that the uncomfortable feeling you're feeling was caused by someone outside of yourself. Certainly people can have influence on how we feel. I'm certainly not meaning to say that people don't have influence on our emotional reality. But at the same time, I want to really encourage you to notice when you're using words that imply that somebody has done something to you and that something was wrong and it was hurtful. There is actually freedom in it. And the freedom comes when you recognize that being ignored, again, it's a thought. If we go back to the differentiation of observation versus observation that's mixed with an evaluation. Let's say, I walk into a room and somebody I know turns around and walks the other way. I could say they rejected me. They ignored me. I'm unseen, right? I could use any of those words that are feelings mixed with evaluation, mixed with thought. Now, it could have had nothing to do with me. It might have been that all of a sudden they realized that they left the pizza in the oven and they had to go take care of it. It might have had nothing to do with me, right? However, if I'm holding on to believing that my authentic feelings is that I felt rejected, ignored, and unseen, disrespected, then again, I'm painting that filter onto the world. In this case, I'm painting that filter onto my relationship with them. How am I going to treat that person if I think that they don't see me, don't respect me, that they're ignoring me? How's that going to impact the way I treat them? So again, we just want to notice, how are we painting thoughts and painting evaluations on top of reality as it's happening? One of the things our mind is very good at is creating a belief system and then finding evidence for it. No matter what your belief is, you can find evidence for it, right? That person ignored me. You can find evidence for that they ignored you. Even if they had a conversation with you, maybe you were speaking and in that moment they weren't responsive to whatever it was you were saying. Maybe you didn't feel that they were being responsive to whatever it is you were saying. You can build evidence to say that they ignored you. You can also build evidence to refute that they ignored you. Like, the mind can really, really build evidence for pretty much any belief. So notice what you're believing. Notice what you place on reality. Notice how that impacts the way you feel and the way you relate to the world around you. Right? This is one of the really big values of being able to distinguish what is a pure emotion and what is an emotion that's laced with some kind of evaluation or thought or judgment. There are many of these words. There's a list called Evaluations Masquerading as Feelings. From it, there's abandoned, abused, attacked, belittled, betrayed, blamed, cheated, criticized, hassled, harassed, ignored, insulted, intimidated, invalidated, invisible, isolated, left out, let down, manipulated, mistrusted, misunderstood, neglected, pressured, provoked, put down, rejected, screwed, smothered, taken for granted, threatened, unappreciated, unheard, unloved, unseen, unsupported, unwanted, used, victimized, violated, wronged. It is not a fully comprehensive list, but you can get a sense. There's a lot of these words. Every one of those words that I listed off is an emotion that is mixed with some kind of a judgment, a judgment of right and wrong, good and bad, victim, perpetrator. And, when I first came into nonviolent communication, I looked at this list and I was like, oh, wow, I use a lot of these words when I talk about my life. And I was also becoming aware of how much I felt like I was a victim to life. Like, really, when you use these words and you don't learn how to separate the pure emotion from the thought, you'll start to feel like a victim. You'll start feeling like you're just a victim to life, that life is hard, that people are mean, that they take advantage of you. The thoughts will actually train your mind into seeing life in that way. When I recognized that, I took it very seriously. I definitely have some feelings that I was disrespected, taken for granted, unappreciated, abandoned, rejected, ignored, plenty of those. And I could find evidence for them, but that evidence was making me miserable. So, abandoned and rejected are probably the two hardest ones on that list to really be able to resolve. Those are the ones that we can find the biggest arguments for. My parents got divorced when I was 8 years old. My dad moved across the country. I love my dad. Him moving across the country, I experienced as an abandonment. I was just 8, right? So I experienced that as an abandonment. And for the longest time, I lived my life with this belief that I had been abandoned by my father. Now, if you look at this list, Evaluations Masquerading as Feelings, and again, you can get this online at my website, www.lovesmartcards.com, in the free tools section. So Evaluations Masquerading as Feelings. One of the things it does is you can see it has abandoned here, and it says what you might be feeling and what you might be needing. So this is a quick guide that can help you identify your feelings and needs. You could also, again, take out the words list, the universal needs, the feelings list, or you could take out cards to do this process. So under abandoned, you might be, when you are using the word abandoned to express your emotions, you might be feeling frightened, lonely, sad, hurt, heartbroken, and scared. Right? Can you feel that resonance? Frightened, sad, lonely, hurt, heartbroken, scared, shocked. Those are feelings that can come up. And those feelings, oftentimes, they don't even feel like they're strong enough words. Like abandonment, there's a lot of strength to saying I was abandoned. It's huge. It's a devastating kind of word. When you really feel that you've been abandoned, it's devastating. So sometimes you might notice that those words just don't feel like they express the level of devastation that's there. I just want you to really honor the emotions. Sometimes our words fall short of what it is we want to express. So honor the emotion that's there. And I still want to invite you to seek to use the words that express emotion. You can express them with intensity to give them more meaning. But I'm going to encourage you to use that instead of using the word abandon. Or I kind of needed to have this transition period where I said, I feel like I was abandoned. I just feel like I need that strong word. I felt abandoned. And I know that that's got evaluation in it. I know that that's got thoughts. It's not pure emotion. So I know that what's behind it is how devastated and heartbroken and sad I am. How alone I feel. I know that I have needs for connection, to know that I matter, to be seen, that are not met currently in that relationship. Right? Now, I'm saying currently, but that's not actually currently true for me. I've done a lot of work in this particular relationship. And so as I was going through the process of moving from a story of abandonment into where I'm at now, where it's dissolved. I was not abandoned by my father. I was never abandoned by my father. That is my belief system now, and I can build evidence for it. Now, I could pick up the story again that I was abandoned. I could give you all the evidence in the world for that as well, right? I could create misery for myself by doing that. To have dropped the story, some people could say it's a spiritual bypass, and certainly, if you're just saying, no, I wasn't abandoned, but you still feel the pain of it inside, then that is probably an attempt at a spiritual bypass. In this case, I've started by really honoring what are the emotions that are there and what are the needs there. I had such a need for connection and for nurturing. In my relationship with my dad, I needed to know that I mattered, that he appreciated me. Right? I needed to know that. So when I became conscious of that, rather than making him wrong all the time, why did you abandon me? Why did you leave? Why did you get divorced? Why? And expressing all my pain. Instead of doing that, which really had him a bit of a deer in headlights and feeling like he had to try and defend himself and reassure me that he loved me, even though I didn't believe it. I kind of believed it, but I didn't fully. Instead of me treating my dad in that way, I recognized, I said, Dad, I just miss you so much. I really miss you. I want to have you in my life. You're precious to me. I want to know that I'm precious to you too, and that our connection matters. And he said, oh my goodness, it matters so much. I adore you. And to be honest, he wasn't great at connection in the beginning. It took a while for him to be able to build a new habit of being really connected. And now my relationship with my father is that it's deeply connected. It's beautiful. Now, I recognize I'm fortunate in my situation because I do have a loving father. He really loves me. He is alive. He can be present. And that's not everybody's situation. So just because this was my journey does not mean that it's going to resolve if you happen to have abandonment, a feeling of abandoned as a crux for you. I'm not saying that this is going to solve it for you, but I do know that you can work through the pain of abandonment and through to a personal liberation. And the first step is simply recognizing that to feel abandoned is a feeling that is mixed with evaluation. First, just notice that. I have an evaluation that somebody has abandoned me and that was wrong and that I'm a victim to their abandonment. First, notice that. And then honor the feelings that are there. Honor them. Look to see what are those precious needs, values, longings, desires that weren't met by whatever circumstance led to this experience of abandonment. What are those precious values? And then seek to see how can you be proactive in meeting those needs. And maybe you're seeking to meet those needs with the person with whom you have this abandonment experience. And maybe it's that you're going to build a different relationship with somebody else who can fulfill those needs in relationship to you. It might not be connected to that same person. You want to just really, I want to encourage you to leave the doors open for your needs to be fulfilled through any number of possibilities. Don't get stuck. Don't get attached to it happening in one way. That's one of the ways we really undermine our ability to have a happy and fulfilled life, as we get attached to it. It has to be this way, and if it's not this way, I'm not going to be happy. Give yourself more options. Truly, truly miracles can happen when you stay open to your needs being met. And don't get attached to it having to be a certain way. Doors will open. Things that you never knew were possible can happen and can bless your life and can fulfill those needs. So going back to this key differentiation, emotions, feelings versus the emotions or feelings that are connected with a thought or evaluation. The gift is really in being able to separate what is the pure emotion and what are the needs connected to that emotion from what are the thoughts, right? Because the emotion and the needs, that's really where you're going to find the healing. The thoughts, these are stories that you've been telling yourself for a while. They may not serve you anymore. Those thoughts might actually perpetuate a lot of pain. Not to say they're wrong or bad, but sometimes they can be updated with new information, right? Sometimes your thoughts can go into service. How can I meet these needs? How can I get creative to figure out how to meet and support these needs so that some healing can occur? Right. So again, a pretty comprehensive list of these words, these emotions that are connected with thoughts or judgments, emotions masquerading as feelings. That list is available on my website, www.lovesmartcards.com, under the Free Tools tab. Please download it and utilize it. Really, really become the victor in your life. No more victim. We're going to become the victor. We're going to become empowered. We're going to be somebody who chooses life-affirming ways of being in ourselves and in the way we relate to others. This will revolutionize your life. It did mine, so I'm just highly recommending it.